Hey guys, Shane McMurray from the Wedding Report. In this episode, I meet with Bryce, who's the owner of Jacks47. They're a mobile bar service with vintage trucks located in Asheville, North Carolina. Check it out. Bryce, thanks so much for doing this. Appreciate your time. Tell me about your business. Tell me where you guys are located. Give me your website address, Instagram, all your social, all that good stuff.
Okay, great. So my name is Bryce Bjornson, and I own Jacks47. We have a fleet of vintage bar trucks. So our motto is that we serve delicious drinks on draft with a smile, and bringing that to as many folks as possible. Our Instagram is actually Jacks47 Dodge. So Jacks 47 and then Dodge, because Jacks47 was taken by some guy, I'm guessing, named Jack, born in 1947.
Right.
Yeah, so we're still working on that. And my website is jacks47.com. We have Facebook as well, and I believe that handle is Jacks47 Mobile Bar. So that's where you can find me. And I'm on Pinterest as well. Still trying to figure out that game.
Yeah.
We don't have Twitter or any of that. So
yeah. So tell me how you got. So tell me. So your mobile bar service, vintage trucks. What made you think about vintage trucks and mobile bar service?
Yeah. Well, it almost happened on accident. I was approached years ago to rent out our family truck, which is a 1947 Dodge, as a wedding prop. And currently, it was my only car. So I drove that 1947 Dodge that y'all check out, and I drove from California to North Carolina, and it was my daily driver. So at the time, I couldn't do that. I wasn't interested. And moving to Asheville, I was working a couple different jobs trying to figure out my place here, and decided, this is like a wedding town. Why don't I go bring the truck to some wedding venue and see what they think about renting it out as a prop? And I go to this venue, the lady at the desk is really nice, and she's like, well, we could do that, but the bride might want to put flowers in the back or maybe a bar. And I was like, that's a great idea.
Yeah, bar. Yeah.
And so it just kind of evolved from there. I went home, I think it was like the next week, and built a jockey box, which is essentially a mobile draft system.
Okay.
Ice instead of refrigeration to cool the kegs and keep them, or cool the beverages that are traveling through it. So it's kind of hard to describe, but it's essentially a low tech but really cool way of serving drinks. You'll see them at beer festivals. So if you see a guy with a cooler, pulling taps off a cooler, that's a jockey box.
Gotcha.
But I thought there's no place for a plastic cooler at a wedding, so I built a rustic wood bar around the jockey box. So you didn't see any plastic, but it still functioned as it should. So I started with that. I did 4 taps all out of the back of the truck. And so you drop the tailgate and there are the taps. But after loading one too many, full-size kegs over the edge of the truck, I realized that it just wasn't, it needed to change. And I also noticed that when the taps were on the back, people didn't really see the truck because the back was facing them.
Yeah.
So we decided to flip it 90 degrees, essentially put the taps on the side, so that as guests come up to the bar, they can see the curves of the truck and they really get that, vintage experience. I also upped the taps to 6 because we also do cocktails on draft. So if you were doing cocktails, let's say 2 signature cocktails, one for each part of the couple, you would only have 2 other taps left. And so I got 6 perfect because you do 2 cocktails, maybe 2 beers, a hard cider, and a Prosecco or a soda. It's a little better to have those options.
That's what I was going to ask you, if you did other drinks besides beer.
Well, that's kind of, so I don't do mixed drinks, which is funny because I think almost every mobile bar and bartender will do mixed drinks. But one of my first weddings, I didn't have the truck. I was just bartending as just a bartender to get in the industry and understand the ebb and flow of a wedding. And during that period, during that wedding, we had all the mixings. We had all the mixers. We had everything we had enough ingredients to make almost any kind of drink, and including a Negroni, right? So Negroni is sweet vermouth, Campari, gin, and each one of those bottles is about, it could be about $20 to $40, right?
Yeah, right.
So say, $33, 3 bottles, that's $100 in ingredients. And I made 2 Negronis the whole night.
Wow.
And so that couple essentially spent $50 per cocktail for that setup. And I was just kind of like, that's ridiculous. Like, that doesn't seem right. And everyone else is getting vodka sodas, whiskey on the rocks. And I was looking at this, I'm like, okay, there has to be a better way. Like, let's figure this out. And I decided that, I learned that you could batch cocktails in a keg. And so I started doing that as the way, if someone wanted to integrate liquor, if they wanted that part of the experience, we would put the cocktail on draft and put it in a keg and pour it away. So I could make a keg for, $200 or so of like a Moscow Mule, let's say. And that holds 130 servings. So we're talking, less than $2 a drink instead of $50.
Yeah. Well, it's pretty, certain drinks probably do better with that, right? Like a White Russian, even like a margarita or something like that, right? Those probably do.
Yeah. Almost anything can be kegged. I mean, the only things that you wouldn't keg would be like an egg-based cocktail,
right?
Or something that has like graduated colors, because it's going to be on the keg. But people really enjoy that because, at a wedding, the average wedding is 4 hours long, right? The reception.
Yep.
And so if someone's waiting in line 20 minutes 3 times to get a drink, they spend an hour waiting in line at the bar when they're traveling from, all over the country, maybe even the world, to be at someone's wedding. So I thought, we'll speed up the line. We'll create consistently delicious drinks that are pre-batched, so no one can over pour. None of my bartenders can mess up because it's all pre-batched, and they fill up a cup with ice, and the exact amount is 5 ounces that goes on top of that. So I've loved it. Our bartenders have loved it. Our clients have loved it, and it creates a much cleaner bar as well. So I don't have all these things on the table. It's just flowers and, maybe I've done a couple, bottles of whiskey for those couples that, wanted like a nice bourbon, but I don't have like tequila, rum.
That's good.
Yeah, all that.
Right, keeps cost for them, right? Like, so, because you're right. Like you said, I did a interview with a mobile bartending folks a couple weeks ago. Mm-hmm. And I mean, literally they have everything at this thing, and there's all these supplies and all these different drinks. And, so having it nailed down to about 6 things is probably extremely more cost prohibitive for the couple, right?
It's a much more cost effective way. And that line is moving quickly. People are, enjoying their drinks because they're being precisely made ahead of time. I ordered an old fashioned a few weeks ago in a restaurant, and it came to me with like muddled fruit at the bottom and like on pebble ice, and I was like, what is going on here? So then you can't always count on having a great bartender, and we take that out of the equation. So I only need to focus on friendliness, professionalism, rather than having a mixologist, which is, they're skilled people. So that's kind of our differentiator. But the trucks reel people in. They're really, I'll show y'all later, but the trucks are beautiful, and it's a nice aesthetic to have at your wedding, especially if it's going to be more of a, to be honest, it fits in with a lot of things, but like the farm wedding, the camp wedding, it's a really good fit for a lot of folks. So
yeah, that's awesome. So how do most of your couples come to you now? Word of mouth, referral? Do they find you online? Do they get you through other vendors?
So I'm getting quite a mix of lead sources. I do wedding festivals, so I'll drive into the convention center and pour drinks for folks. So I've gotten a few gigs from that, a few weddings. I have I keep up with Instagram with professional photos. So I have some people inquire, from Instagram.
Yep.
But to be honest, if I looked at, the top performing sources, it would be vendor referrals and venue referrals.
Nice.
And so, Asheville's relatively small. We don't have a lot of people in the industry. We have a good amount, but it's not like Nashville or Charleston, where there's a million of everything.
That's right.
We only have 85,000 of the city of Asheville.
I know. It's a small community. Yeah.
Yeah.
Only
So
a few venues.
a lot of, yeah. And that was part of my strategy in the beginning, is going to visit a venue, figure out where the truck would park, get to know the space and the owners. And when the couple asks, they want to do kegs at their bar, they refer me a lot for that because of that. Because if you don't go with me, or a mobile bar that has a jockey box set up, you're likely going to be putting a keg in a bucket on ice and have a hand pump there to dispense the beverages.
Yeah.
And the aesthetics aren't great for that. And to be honest, the speed isn't either, and the reliability, because some people will say, oh, well, let's just put a warm keg in a cold bucket of ice. And that doesn't work. It's going to pour foamy throughout the night. That happened to me at a wedding. Someone was like, oh, here's a keg from last night. And I'm like, well, did you keep it cold? Like, you can't just throw it on ice and call it a day, And so I was there. It was in a pretty little silver bucket, surrounded by ice, and I was pumping away, and all foam. So, from those two experiences, I came up with that, let's just do delicious drinks on draft with, consistent, and it's been working pretty well.
That's pretty awesome. Yeah. So once someone finds you and they contact you, what does that process look like?
So first, we have to make sure we're available, because
obviously
we're booking up. So I'll check availability. Currently, I have 3 trucks that are built out as vintage bar trucks. So I'll tell them which colors we have available, and after that, it's kind of, I do like to pre-qualify, my leads. So
what do you mean by that? Yeah.
Make sure that it's even possibly going to be a good fit. So I had someone reach out to me, 5 hours from our location. I'm like, that's just not, I don't think you're willing to pay the travel fee, the accommodations, and all that. Like, let's just, unless you want to drop some serious money, which some people do. But, stuff like distance, some venues actually have inclusive bar services.
Right.
Like as part of their package. And so I get inquiries from clients at those venues.
But you can't go there, right?
I can't go there. So I'm like, all right.
Yeah.
So simply, qualifying folks like that. But once we kind of suss out those important, details, we'll talk about, what drinks they want to have on draft, like what they want the vibe to be, kind of think more about, do they want to run out of beer, or do they want to party till midnight? So, just having a conversation about the day and what their priorities are. And after that, I would go and build a custom quote for them. And so we have 3 different packages now, and I usually recommend obviously one of those, and then we have some add-ons available. And and then if they're ready to book, I send them a proposal, and they can do everything online, so they can sign the contract and pay the deposit. Yeah.
So what does the average cost look like for a package?
So I just put this on our website, the pricing. So the average, let's say 100-person wedding, they'll spend about $2,500. So I kind of break it down by person. So around 25 per person. If they want to add signature cocktails, that might bump it up to 30. It just depends, because 130-person wedding, obviously the numbers will change.
Sure.
In regards to per person. I usually tell people, just so you know, 20 to 30 is the range you'll likely pay. And that's how that's probably the average.
And that includes the truck. Do you have bartenders there, or people to help serve?
Yeah. So all of our packages are all inclusive. We don't rent out the truck as a prop. We don't rent out as like a tap truck. Yeah. Everything comes with bartenders, cups, ice, CO2, keg delivery, which is another thing that some mobile bars don't offer, which helps me stand out. Is I'll literally go pick up the kegs from the beer and wine store and deliver them to the venue with the truck. Of course, the bartenders, we have liquor liability insurance, so that's tied in, and we can add the client's venue if necessary. It's all included.
Nice. That's good. Yeah, that's good. So what happens when, so let's say we book you, you're available, you do the thing. So tell me about, is there any planning that happens up to that once we decide, or is it just like, hey, I'll see you guys, I'll talk to you a week before, talk to you 2 weeks before.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So normally I like to do a beer tasting with them,
Okay.
just because most people come to me and they're into craft beer. Like I've only served Bud Light once. I'm
Good.
always doing local craft beer if I can. And luckily we do have breweries that make light lagers that will appease the Bud Light drinkers in the crowd.
Nice.
So yeah, so we usually like to do a tasting. I had previously done them at breweries, so I would go meet them at a brewery, buy them, a flight or two, maybe go to another brewery if need be. But I'm here now at my warehouse space, and I'm building a private tap room, like tasting room.
Oh, nice.
Lounge area. So everyone who signs up with me will be able to come in, try some beers, maybe even some cocktails on draft, maybe some hard cider, because we have 4 local cider houses here
Nice.
in Asheville. But it'll be a good chance for them to see the trucks, because the trucks are also in here. It'll be a good chance to kind of hang out and me kind of host that experience for them, because I would go to a brewery and there'd be dubstep playing on the radio and babies crying. And I'm like, all right, this is not.
And a bunch of noise and all kinds of stuff.
Not my brand, This is not. I'm not controlling that experience for them.
Yeah,
and
it's a good idea.
That to rent this warehouse, and we're gonna put a little tasting room. I got a couch and a sheepskin and a record player. So we're getting there. It's gonna be built out. Hopefully, I have a client coming actually next weekend. Yeah. So hopefully we'll get that all set up. I do have some things on tap right now, but yeah, we do that, and that kind of helps, because a lot of people are coming in from out of state, so we have a lot of destination weddings, and they don't necessarily know what beers, which beers are which, and which ones are good for weddings.
Yeah,
that's a good chance to review the details and kind of think more about their guests and what their guests would like, because some crowds are beer heavy and they love craft beer, and others are not, and so we got to work around their guests, and but also make sure that the stuff on draft is going to be something they like.
Yeah, because I got to imagine some people, like you just said, may not even like beer, and they may say, you know what, most of our family, a couple people like beer, so one thing of beer, everything else, something else, right?
Exactly. Oh, and I forgot to add that we do normally wine by the bottle. So we'll have wine underneath the bar, behind the bar. And
so if someone wants wine, you have an option for wine.
Yeah, we can do that. And I've done it on tap as well, but a standard keg of wine holds about 26 bottles. So unless you're going to go through 26 bottles,
it's not worth it.
It's not really worth it. So for a 200-person wedding, I definitely recommend a keg of Prosecco or Rosé. But if you're doing an 80-person wedding, a keg just doesn't make sense for that.
Totally, yeah.
So yeah, so that's how it works. I haven't done tastings with everyone, because some people, they book the wedding and they come here maybe once before. But it's a fun aspect. It's one of my favorite parts of the business.
Yeah,
it's a great chance for.
So after the tasting, then is that like then you guys decide what they want, and then after that it's like, hey, I'll talk to you right before, and then, or is it you guys meet up again prior?
Yeah, there's not a second meetup unless they want to do maybe a cocktail tasting that they didn't have a chance to do. And then I will place that order for them, and all they have to do is pay for that separately until we got our beer and wine permit, which is coming next month. But yeah, so we'll confirm the order, place it for them. They might have to, give credit card information to that beer and wine store, but they don't have to go.
Sure.
So
yeah, that's cool. Yeah, and then so you guys show up the day of. What does your day look like? So
yeah, we aim to get there about an hour and a half, maybe 2 hours, depending on the circumstances, before the ceremony starts. So we don't roll up like right after and start pouring. Like, we want to get it set up. We want everything to be ready to go, so that once that ceremony is over, we can start pulling taps and pouring drinks.
Yeah.
So we'll get there, as I said, an hour and a half, or so before the ceremony. Once that ceremony ends, start pouring, and then cleanup's really easily. All we have to do is fold up the bar and put the tailgate up, and we're off. So
yeah. Good. Yeah. So couples looking for a mobile bartender or something like your service, what advice would you have for them?
Well, I think, definitely make sure they have the basics like insurance. And I think it's all about vibe. Like what vibe do you want? What style do you want? Some of my caterer friends don't like when I say this, but you might not want to hire the bartender from the catering company because they're usually, in my opinion, I've seen sometimes this happen. They'll be like just an add-on. They're not like a bartender. They're just the owner's friend or niece or nephew.
Right.
So I think just in general, hiring a bartending specific, like a company that specializes in bar services is the way to go. And then just, suss them based on the style and personality. Because there's about 4 or 5 noble bars now in Asheville,
Yeah.
and some of them wear all black and have short hair, and obviously I have a beard and long hair, and I wear suspenders, and a white shirt, so it's a different vibe. And I think it just comes down to like who do you like more, just going by that. And also thinking about those cocktails on draft and batch and nose, I think that's a great way to do it. And if you put them in the water towers, if you're adding ice to it, that's going to dilute the drink. So the first drink will taste too strong, and the last drink will taste watered down. So there's better ways to do it, and I think they've developed some technology for that. But yeah, just in general, finding someone who's a good fit for your guests, and remembering that they will interact with the bartender more than any other vendor.
Absolutely.
On your big day. So every vendor matters. I love great photographers and caterers and officiant. Like that's what makes the wedding is all these vendors coming together producing an event for someone's big day. But remember that the guests don't interact with a lot of those vendors. They only really talk to the bartender. So making sure that that person is friendly and professional is really important.
That's awesome. Yeah, great advice. So let's switch a little bit, talk about the business side. Tell me, for you, what's in business, what's working well for you today?
Well, shoot, that's a big question. I just had a business class this morning, so I'm figuring out all this stuff.
Yeah.
What's working for me is, being responsive to leads. When I first started the business, sometimes I'd go a week without sending a proposal, and I didn't get that gig.
Yeah.
Now I'm responding within an hour or so. I'm sending that proposal when I say I'm going to do it. Well, yeah. Sorry, I'm just.
That's all right. Yeah, I mean that's good because that's actually a very important thing because you basically just said like in the past if you didn't respond right away you would probably not get that gig, and now that you're responding more quickly and more frequently, right? You have a better chance to close that deal, right?
Yeah, exactly. So I think that's pretty important. But something that just came to mind is remembering that it's someone's wedding day and it's not just another client or gig. So that's something that I have to remember every time I go in, because we've done over 50 events. We got about 42 booked for this year. And so it can seem like just another number, it can seem just like another gig, right? But I think, when I get on the phone with people, I, tell myself before I go on the phone, I'm like, remember, someone's dropping tens of thousands of dollars on this event, and I want to respect that and I want to honor that. That's something I tell my bartenders, like, this is someone's big day. This is not just another Saturday night, at the bar. This is someone's big day. And so I actually, that brings me back to the staffing portion of the business, is that I don't hire like career bartenders or people that have been doing it for a long time, because I think a lot of them are jaded, and I think that can impact their treatment of guests. And so I look for people that, as I said, friendly and professional, and I've devised a system and that doesn't require a high level of skill set, and I'm working on my checklist and my training so that people can to set my people up to succeed. So I think that's another thing too, is like what's working for me is thinking about building a business and not just having a job. So when I first started this, I was charging less than half of what I'm charging now. And I was like, oh, this is great. I'm making, several $100s in a day. That's awesome. And then a year later, I started to break down each expense, and I realized, oh, if I step away from the business, that is the cost of doing the wedding, and that should not be the price.
Yeah.
But I think a lot of small business owners get in this mindset of like, oh, like I made 80 grand this year. It's like, no, you didn't. You paid yourself a salary of 40 grand. You spent 40 grand on the business, or
Yeah.
on things for that.
Less than that usually, right? Like, I mean, if you paid yourself 10 grand, you'd be lucky, right? The rest of it went to business expenses and other things, right?
Exactly. And if you only have enough money to pay yourself a salary and no profit, that's not a sustainable business because there's no reason to keep it up.
Right.
But once you're tired, you're going to dip out and there's no reason for it to exist anymore. So, I think, my biggest thing for this year is going to be profitability, really understanding which events are paying the best. And that's why I stopped offering bartending services, because as just a pair of hands, because I did the numbers and I was making about a fifth profit from that. So I would have to book 5, high school reunions, which I did one of those as the equivalent of one wedding, or one birthday party, or big event where they want the truck. So
that's smart that you do that though, Bryce, because people don't do that as a business, right? And I actually encourage businesses to go and look at the things that you're doing in your business, figure out the ones that are actually making you the most profit, and work on building those and getting rid of the other stuff. It comes down to the numbers. You got to take the data and information that you have in your business. You have to look at what you're doing, and are you making money from this thing? Are you building a profit so you can build a sustainable business and growth? Because the profit allows you to then reinvest back in your business so you can build the space to have people come, right? So you can buy another truck to do the stuff, right? That's part of how you grow your business.
Exactly. Yeah. And I just think, a lot of people just for some reason don't have that mentality. I see it a lot.
Well, it's a creative business, right? So this business, the wedding space, is very creative.
Yeah, maybe that's why. But so that's what I'm thinking. Let's see.
You have to run a business.
Really thinking about the guest experience is another thing. So, personal branding, that's another.
Yeah, lots of things in business.
I have, for example, my backpack. Ooh. My backpack is like a leather backpack, and it's nice and it's durable and it's professional. It's like when people see me with that as opposed to like a torn up JanSport from middle school, it's a signal. It's a signal that I'm serious about my business or my life, and that it aligns, right? So if you're running a dive bar that's built for 22-year-old punk kids, then a torn up JanSport would be a great idea, because people will be like, oh yeah, he's one of us, he's cool. But that's not my clientele. And so there's a few wedding pros in the arena that talk about that. I did the wedding MBA in Vegas last year, and one of them was like, you have to align with your brand out in public. And I think that's something that we often forget. People can't separate. It's like, it's like your teacher, when you see your teacher at the grocery store when you're a kid, you're like, what are you doing? This is not your space. It's like people it's kind of the same for wedding professionals. They're like, oh, you're a real human.
You're a real human.
You have to rep your brand
all the time, right? All the time.
Yeah, especially when your face is all over like mine. I'm all over my website.
So what would you say are the biggest challenges today in business?
In my business, or
in your business, what are your biggest challenges?
So it's kind of funny. It's actually towing the vehicles around, towing these trucks. They can be driven, but I can't drive them because I have to do 2 events or 3 events in a day. So I bought an old diesel tow truck and bought a car hauler and started hauling them. But again, if we go back to the systems and the redundancy and the backups and the checklists, I can't do that forever. I don't want to do that forever. So I called up a tow truck company, and they were horrible. They they weren't responding to my calls, and I'm like, my truck is out there. I don't know where it is. It's supposed to be here by 10. It was 3 o'clock in the afternoon. So, so to be honest, it's getting those, it's
getting responsible people to help you.
Yeah. And so I think there's someone out there that is I'm gonna figure it out with. But for now, tow trucks is probably the biggest challenge. I think the other thing is revenue during the week and off season. So I have one wedding booked for July right now. I have 16 events booked for October already. So I'm going to make, a big chunk in October, but July, it's like, what am I doing? Am I going to sit around? Like, I need to, I want to work.
Yeah, you got to work.
And so one of the ideas is to maybe vend non-alcoholic drinks downtown Asheville, so people can see me and the truck and, have sodas on tap, or even just water, right? Just so people can, I'll sell it for $1 or $2, right? So I'll make a little bit of money of that. I'll spread the awareness, because a lot of people come here and then decide to get married. So they might be walking downtown and they're like, oh, we love Asheville, let's get married here. And then they see the truck and they think, oh, that'd be great. Some I don't do those. I don't do festivals or any of that public event stuff, because that's not my clientele. You would have to pay to get in, and you might not get paid until the next day, right? Depending on the credit card sales or however that works. So I get paid in full 30 days before the event even starts, like for a wedding, for example, or a birthday party. Whereas these festivals, like, I just don't, and they fall on Saturdays in the summer and fall, right? So it doesn't make sense. Just doesn't make sense to do those. But yeah, those are my two biggest challenges right now.
Yeah, that's great. I mean, it sucks, but it's hard to find, the thing is, it really is hard to find like third-party people that you need to rely on as part of your supply chain. I call that supply chain, because it really is for you. It's your supply chain, right? It's like, I need people to tow my things to my event. That's part of the whole thing. And not to be able to find a reliable person to do that is I can see how that's a challenge for sure.
Yeah. So hopefully we'll figure that out this year, because it's a big strain on me too when I'm towing 3 trucks. Well, actually, I've never done 3 trucks. That's this year. Last year I was doing 2 trucks in a day, and I'd like show up to the wedding and bartend, and my hands might be a little dirty. I was working the whole day, so it wasn't a good fit. So I think this year we have our first triple day in October. So nice. October 3rd, October 10th, and November 7th are already triple booked. And I need to figure out before then, because I'm not going to tow 3 trucks, all over the state.
Yeah, there's no way you can do that, right? There's no way. Like, you individually can't do that, right?
Yeah.
So what advice would you give other people business-wise? I think we talked about quite a few of it, right? Like, make sure you understand that this is a business and you're trying to, understand the process. But if you had to give someone a very specific piece of advice, what would that be?
I would say, I don't want to say SEO, because that's so cliche these days. I mean, to be honest, I think the most specific and helpful advice I could give is figure out what you really want out of your life, and then build a business to support that. For example, I want to create, a little permaculture village out in the woods someday, and I need, $1 million+ to do that. And I'm not going to do that by running 2 trucks for 6 months out of the year. I need to franchise. I need to build a beer and wine sales. I need to brand, maybe white label a beer. Like, I need to build something to support that dream. And I'm a little scared. I'm not so sure, so certain that, I am going to franchise or anything like that. But, if you want to stay local and you want to work weddings for the next 10 years, then design your life, design the business that way. You don't need a replacement if you really want to do that. I don't want to be busy every Saturday spring, summer, and fall.
Great.
And so having a team of bartenders, having enough having a pricing, having my packages be priced in such a way that I can do that. Some people are like, oh, I can't hire anyone. I'm like, well, then you need to raise your prices and you need to figure that out, and so, yeah, specific is really like I know it's kind of woo, but like start journaling and figure out, do some meditation, figure out what you really want out of life and build a business to suit those dreams.
Yeah, but it's also about the market too, right? So if you I'll use this example, but if you want to be a wedding planner and you want to charge $5,000, but there's only 500 weddings in your market and only 10 of them spend no more than $5,000 on a planner, that is not going to support your ability. You're going to have to find some other means, or you're going to have to create a different product that can reach down into the other parts of the market to be able to do that. But you have to do it in an efficient way, right? Like you mentioned earlier, you were talking about like you have planned out how to take your staff and get people that are not necessarily bartenders, but people that are friendly and that can, it doesn't require a lot of skill. Well, that takes a different type of person. Well, that you build that in. If you build that in, you don't have to pay someone $50 an hour to do bartending because all they're doing is serving. You can pay them $20 an hour, right? So there's all kinds of things you can do. Or you build different packages, right? Okay, well, I can't be there for 4 hours. I mean, obviously a wedding, as a bartender, you have to be there the whole time, but you have different packages. Maybe you only serve 3 types of liquor, beer, or whatever versus 6, right? I mean, you just have to build in economies of scale that can work in that market so that you can do it.
Exactly, and that's why I developed 3 different tiers. So the top one is they want it all and they have the money. The middle one is what most people are going to book. And the lowest one is for folks that, they don't have a huge budget. It might be their second wedding, but I still make money off every single package. And so a lot of people say, well, I don't want to raise my prices. I want to be affordable. I'm like, well, just figure out how to tier it so that you can support those different clients, and, it's different. It's not providing your service to everyone, right? That's not the point. It's just honing in on, I think the pricing.
But you said it, right? It's like, what is the lifestyle you want to live? Is it, if it's you want to grow your business and grow into this big thing, you might not want to be in the Asheville market. You might want to move to a market where it's a lot bigger, right? But all businesses have to do this. Even luxury designers think about how do we reach down into the market? Because there's only so many people that are going to spend $1,000 on a purse or $5,000 on a purse, right? They have to figure, okay, how can we get the $200 people? How can we get the $100 people? What do we do? Why do you think there's so many outlets today for dress and designers? Because guess what? They're reaching down into the market so they can grow their business at 2-3% year over year by reaching down into the market. So
exactly. And that brings up that what I call forcing the function. So if you try to make something happen where it just can't happen, then you will lose. Like you will lose, shut down, and it just won't work. And it's a wedding planner named Terica. I took one of her online courses, and she mentioned a planner that was wanting to do luxury weddings in like upstate Georgia, where they just didn't have that market, or I don't know, maybe it was somewhere else, but and so that planner pivoted and did rustic country weddings, did more of them, because she had to, but charged, still made her money.
That's right.
If I think I kind of lucked out, right? Like Asheville's a big beer town.
Yep.
People come here for an outdoor wedding, so this makes sense. If I were to go to New York City, like downtown, Manhattan, right?
That makes sense, yeah.
I would fail, and there's millions of dollars in New York, or billions, right? But it just wouldn't make sense. Upstate New York's a whole different story.
Yeah.
But I think, understanding your market and maybe where the gaps are. Like no one had a mobile bar rig in Asheville. And everyone's wearing the same black suit, and I'm like, all right, we're gonna mix things up, and
there you go.
It works. So
yeah. Last question: what's your best or worst wedding story?
Oh my god! I just wrote a blog about this. So all my weddings have been great. My couples are awesome. I don't have bridezillas as clients. But on the way to my first wedding, or a second wedding, but it was the first one that I booked through the couple, I ran out of gas.
Oh no.
On the way to the wedding. So I'm cruising in this vintage truck. You know, all my weddings are pretty rural. So I'm out like in Flat Rock, North Carolina. And I swore I filled it up like this week. Like how did I run out of gas? Luckily I cruised into this parking lot and there was a guy there washing cars. And I'm like, hey man, is there any chance you have a gas can? He's like, yeah, go back, around the corner. There's a gas station about a quarter mile up, so I sprint right. I'm in my outfit, which I don't do that anymore. But I'm in my outfit. I sprint to the gas station, fill it up, bring it back. Try to tap the starter, and the starter doesn't work.
Oh no. And
I'm like, oh my gosh, are you kidding me? So I asked the guy, I'm like, dude, do you have any ideas? He's like, well, sometimes if you hit the starter with a hammer, it works. Yeah. So I get into the car, hit the hammer, hit the.
Sure enough.
A wrench, and it started right up.
Yeah, we used to do that. Yeah, I remember.
That was probably my worst. It wasn't the wedding itself was great, but the day was like and once I showed up to the wedding, the wine keg valve was busted, so I couldn't get any wine out of the keg, and I was like, this is a $250 keg, like I need to get this liquid out,
Mm-hmm.
And eventually during the ceremony, because they did a pre-ceremony cocktail hour, and I was like, oh, it'll be, I'll get it fixed soon.
Yeah.
For the ceremony, luckily I had a backup corny keg, which is normally used for like batching cocktails or sanitizer or whatever. It has a lid that opens up like this big, really easy. So I open that up, dump the sanitizer, and I squeeze the keg, because it's a plastic keg of wine, into that keg. And I put it on tap, and and it all worked out. It was great.
Wow.
It's still tasty.
So now you bring a lot of backup, and you haul your trucks around. You don't drive them.
Yeah, we learned our lesson there. And then I'm actually going to take you over to the truck if you don't mind.
All right. Yeah. Let's do it.
So, in my best wedding, best wedding. That's a good question. Let me show you here's the truck, the front of it.
Oh, that's nice. Beautiful.
Yeah. So I have my two trucks here. The third one's coming soon.
Nice.
The red and black one is cool. Good for camp weddings and such.
That's awesome.
Fits into the barn. But the blue one's great, And here's the taps on the side.
Yeah, I saw it on your website, but that's pretty cool seeing it up close. That's awesome.
Yep. So we've got these cool tap handles. People really enjoy those.
Yeah, the tap handles are pretty popular, I'm sure.
Yeah. So again, it goes, with the whole aesthetics thing, trying to keep up with that. But I would say my headlight. I would say my best wedding. Trying to recall. Probably the one where I did a watermelon mojito on tap.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. So we did that was one of the signature cocktails. And yeah, I think that was my best one. It was just a lot of fun. The couple was great. Yeah.
Awesome. Hey, Bryce, I really appreciate you doing this, man. Thanks so much.
Yeah, it was a pleasure. I always enjoy talking about the business, and it was fun.
Awesome. Have a great weekend, bud.
All right, you too.
All right. Hey, thanks for checking out this episode. I hope that you found it helpful. Please share it with other people. Also, if you're getting married or you work in the wedding industry, I would love to interview and share your information with other people. Send me a text, 520-399-8580, or shoot me an email at letschat@wedding.report.